Do you ever struggle to actually figure out like what you want? Exactly what you want in life. Hey, my name is Nathan Hawken, and in today's video, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how you can actually start to figure out and really understand what it is that you want, what you want to achieve. Maybe it's a goal that you want to start to bring to the surface that you had no idea was there, but that big question of when someone says, well, what do you want? And you say, I actually don't know. I don't know what I want. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, if you're new to the channel, please like this video, leave a comment if this is resonating with you, or let me know your thoughts and feelings. Subscribe to the channel and of course hit the notification button to make sure that you're up to date with any of my new videos that come out. And if you're looking for a little bit of extra help, I do have a new ebook out called The 5 Steps to Self-Belief Mastery, where you can download in the description below. So one of the really big and interesting things that people say to me when I ask them what they want, like maybe it's a potential client that I'd like to work with, or maybe it's someone I've just started working with, or maybe it's just someone having a general conversation with, and I say, well, what do you want? When I start to find out a little bit more about them, they usually say, I don't know. I don't know for sure. Or they'll list off the basics, like the broad basics of, yeah, I want money, I want to make sure my family's taken care of, I want time, I want to make sure I'm enjoying my work. And very rarely do they actually know what they want, like the specifics about what they want. And it's understandable because we're not really taught to go for the things that we want unless we start tapping into personal development, understanding that there's actually more for us out there in our life if you take that step to go out and look for it. And so is it any wonder that people don't know what they want and they're just blindly going about by just going through the motions of what they think they want? It's like, well, I'll work, or I'll do this business, or I'll join a network marketing company because that's the lifestyle I want, you know, the laptop lifestyle dream that they're always sold on. And so that's what they go for. Like they're working towards that, but they don't really know why they want it. That's just what they're told they want, or maybe it's because they're looking at their current situation and they're so unhappy with it, they just want more, but they don't really know what that more is just yet. And that's the problem right there, is because most of us, unless we started to tap into something a little bit more and start to realize that there's a purpose inside you, most of us don't actually think about it because we get too wrapped up in our own situation or too wrapped up in our own problems to see anything different. Most of the time we're running away from something, not towards something. Most of the time people they don't want to be poor, they don't want to struggle to make ends meet, they don't want to be working a particular job, they don't want to be living in a particular house, they don't want to be driving a particular car, they don't want to be X, Y, and Z. So it's like, well, I don't want this, okay? I've spoken to people before, and I've seen this a lot in the coaching industry and the personal development industry, where people will sit down with me when I'm having like an intensive session with them or something like that, and I'm like, okay, right, so why are we here? And I will sit there for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours if I let them. I don't usually, but they could sit there for hours and talk about all the things which are going wrong in their life and all the things that they don't want. And when I stop and say, right, well, what do you want? They're just like, I don't know, right? That's a problem there, right? Because people get so wrapped up and caught up in their own problems that they don't even spend enough time to think about what they want instead. And that's usually because they have some type of limitation that they've put on themselves. Maybe there's a particular self-belief, they're struggling with confidence issues, they're struggling with fear, struggling with putting themselves out there, that anytime they even start to think about having something else, something new, something different, something better, they stop themselves from that thought process because all they can see is their current existence and their current world. And it is hard to see beyond that when you're so wrapped up in it. Sometimes you can get a glimpse of something else that you're looking for and you think, well, I wouldn't mind something like that, but you don't really know how to get there, or a self-belief will come in and just be like, you know what, no, you can't have that. It's nice for everyone else, but you can't have it because you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you're not capable enough, you're not confident enough, and all this other bullshit that comes into their head. Now, that's exactly what it is. And that's what stops you all the time. And that's usually what happens anytime someone says, I don't know what I want. Because the truth is, you actually do. Deep down inside, if we pry deep enough, you will find exactly what you want. You know what you want, but because you're too wrapped up in your problems and things haven't worked out for you in the past, and you've got a lot of limitations which you put in yourself, you stop that process of thinking about other things and better situations to be in that you don't even explore it. And then you feel bad about the fact that there's nothing else for you, which is total crap because there is. And so thinking about more is difficult to even comprehend because you have no idea what that would be like. You may read books about becoming wealthy or running your own business or whatever it is that you're looking for, or you might even think about. You may see people on YouTube or on the internet talking about what it's like and living that lifestyle, but you don't actually know what it's like. And so that's difficult for your mind to comprehend because you have to create it from scratch. You've got to dig down deep into your imagination to try and pull something out that resembles what that must be like for you. But this all changes and the shifts get made inside yourself when you start to think about what life would be like instead. When rather than looking at the problems, you're looking at the solutions. When instead of looking at what you don't have, you look at what you want instead, even if it's just on the smallest level, even if it's just a little way. Because once you create that picture, once you can start to think about it in as much detail as possible, then it starts to become more of a new reality or a possibility for you. And once you've got a new possibility, that starts to ignite a new fire inside you, a new level of motivation. Now, it might be just a spark or a little bit of an amber to begin with, but that will grow as you start to do more about it. Because if you're looking at something new and you're spending less time on the things that you don't want, what you're actually doing is starting to create it. Now, all you have to do from there is take a few little actions. But the more actions that you take, even if it's just a small daily action, the more you're getting closer towards getting it as well. And the more that becomes a reality or a possible reality rather than just a dream or a little vision that you have. But you might actually be sitting there thinking, well, Nathan, how do I start thinking about what I want? Because the problem is, I don't know. I just can't, I struggle to get to that point where I start to look at what I want and start creating it in my head. And that's fine. A lot of us are there. And like I said before, you do know. Like you absolutely do know what you want and the answers are there. And if the answers are there, what does that mean? We just have to ask a few questions, but not just any questions. We have to ask the right questions. Now I've got 3 questions here for you to ask, which will start to unlock that thinking. Now here's the key and the caveat, I guess. When you ask these questions, you've got to listen to the answer. So you have to keep asking the question until the answer comes. But when the answer comes up, you've got to accept it as well. Your unconscious mind is always going to give you the answer you want, okay? And the answer that you need. When you're asking the right questions, that means that it's going to give you the right answer as well. But you've got to be ready for it, you've got to listen to it, and you've got to do something about it as well. And be totally honest with yourself when it comes up. And so here's the first question. Write this down and make it one of your standard questions that you're going to ask yourself. Ask yourself this: what is the opposite to what I have now? So when you look at your life and you look at any particular limitations you put on yourself or anything like that, ask yourself, what is the opposite? You know, and this is what I do with all of my coaching clients who say they don't know what they want. I'm like, right, so what do you have now? Talk about that. So right now I'm working in this job, or I've got a business that isn't working very well, or I've got a relationship which isn't working, or whatever it is for you. It's like, this is what's not working. Cool. So you look at what's not working, you ask, what's the opposite? The flip side to the coin, if you will. What is the opposite to this right now? Because if this is what you have now and this is what you don't want, then of course what you want will be in the opposite, right? So ask yourself, what is the opposite to what I have right now that isn't working? And then write that down. Start listing them out, whatever comes up, just start listing them out. What is the opposite? So ask yourself, what is the opposite? So if it's like, I don't have enough money, well, what's the opposite? Having too much money, right? If I'm not living in a house I want to live in, what's the opposite? Living in the house I want to live in. Because once you can flip that, your mind starts to think a little bit differently and start piecing that together and start putting a little bit more clarity around it as well. Now here's question 2. What can I do differently now, which is the opposite to what I'm currently doing? And so what that means is, if you look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, look at the actions that you're taking or the actions that you're not taking, you think, what can I do differently? Because sometimes you don't know. Like, even though you do know, but like you think that you don't. You say, well, currently I'm getting up, going to work, watching television, going to bed. What could I do differently? Well, instead of watching television at night, I could do something different. I could read a book about how to start a business if that's what you want to do. Or I can study a new program in order to get skilled up for my next position or whatever it is. But just start listing down some of the things that you can do differently to what you're currently doing now, because that'll start giving you ideas about how you can start finding more time and doing things in a way that's going to get you to the picture that you're starting to create. And then question 3 is, what are the positive emotions and feelings that I want that I'm currently not feeling? So what are the emotions and what are the feelings and what do I want instead of how I'm currently feeling? If you're currently feeling down and upset and sad or guilty or whatever it is, it's like, well, what do I want to feel instead? Well, I want to feel more happiness. I want to feel more joy in my life. I want to feel more love. I want to feel fearless. Whatever it is for you, but write those down as well, because once you've got it on paper in front of you, then you can start taking the steps to make that your new you, to become that person, to embody those emotions, embody those feelings, because you do have the choice. So guys, I hope this video has been of service to you. Remember, questions are very powerful. And so if you ask yourself the right questions, you will always come up with the right answers, which are going to help you as long as you act on them. If you need any further help, I do have an ebook available, which is in the description below, that you can download, called the 5 Steps to Self-Belief Mastery. So you can download that now. Also, I do have a Facebook group called Mindset Potential, which I get in there doing more live videos, and I put a lot of extra content in there as well, which is not on this channel. So you can access that in the description below. Thanks a lot, guys. Leave a comment, let me know how you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon.